to day 9 of 25 Wild Christmas Review Days, the cartoon specials. It's time we talk about some Cartoon Network cartoon Christmas specials, everybody. I didn't grow up with much Cartoon Network. I was more of a Nickelodeon kid, but I did watch Cartoon Network from time to time, mostly when I got a little older. Some of the earliest cartoons I do remember watching are some Dexter's Laboratory. I wasn't that big on Dexter's Lab, though, like I may have established last time. But I'm watching it more now because they are airing it on Cartoon Network. I saw a little of Powerpuff Girls, but I was a big Ed, Edd n Eddy guy. Some Foster's Home, but, you know, again, I would watch more Cartoon Network as I got older, particularly in what they're calling the Renaissance era of Cartoon Network, when Adventure Time and regular shows started airing. But I also was actively watching the network when Chowder and Flapjack was on, and when they decided to put live-action content on the network, because, you know, that was a good idea, right? No. If you were to categorize me based on the networks I grew up with, you'd probably call me more of a Nickelodeon kid than Cartoon Network. Maybe a little of Disney, though, because I watched a lot of Disney before I watched a lot of Cartoon Network as I was growing up. So that's a little brief history with me and Cartoon Network. But I guess you could call me a Cartoon Network guy now. I mean, I'm watching that more than anything, only because the cartoons are actually watchable. I mean, Cartoon Network nowadays mostly just plays reruns of Gumball, and they play Craig of the Creek. There's still a lot of Teen Titans Go. I guess the one thing I also watch a lot is Adult Swim, which is the night block on Cartoon Network, which I guess you wouldn't count as being Cartoon Network, but I guess in a sense you would, because it is the same network, but, you know, two different networks living on one channel. I watch the network a lot, that's what I'm trying to say. And their Christmas specials are just as fun. Like Nickelodeon, we're going to spend the next couple of days talking about some Cartoon Network specials, particularly the Christmas specials that belong to some shows. I know Cartoon Network has some one-off Christmas specials that they've played throughout the years. They would also play specials that I've already talked about. Like for a while you could see How the Grinch Stole Christmas and Frosty the Snowman on the network. They would just air them for some reason. But it's fine, you know, it's the holidays, you can air whatever you want. But they would air some other one-off specials. I think that's where Olive the Other Reindeer aired also. I've never seen that special, but I'm pretty sure that's where that movie aired, or special, whatever it is. But we're going to talk about some Christmas episodes, so we're not going to talk about the one-off specials. They have to be the Christmas special of a specific Cartoon Network show. You may notice we may speak about a few more than Nickelodeon, but that's because there's just a few more enjoyable specials I want to talk about. And also, I have control here, so let me just talk about what I want to talk about, alright? First up, let's talk about the Ed, Edd n Eddy Christmas specials, because why not? It's Ed, Edd n Eddy. They're like a Cartoon Network icon at this point. I wasn't that big of a fan of the show, but I did enjoy it. I think I hyped them up a little too much. Ed, Edd n Eddy was a cartoon that aired on Cartoon Network from 1999 to 2009. The show follows three boys, all named Ed in various ways, mainly taking place over the summer, as they come up with different schemes to trick their fellow neighborhood kids into giving them money so they could buy themselves Jawbreakers. In 2000, Fa La 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 Ed premiered and saw the Eds trying to bring holiday spirit to the neighborhood kids after Ed discovered fruitcake in Double D's closet. Eddy specifically uses this holiday scheme to snatch money, as it's also Piggy Bank Day. Then, in 2004, Jingle Jingle Jangle premiered. This holiday special sees Eddy looking to be adopted by one of the neighborhood kids' families so he can get better Christmas presents. Meanwhile, Double D attempts to show Eddy that Christmas is about so much more than just presents. Because they're also airing Ed, Edd n Eddy, part of the Checkered Past block on Cartoon Network now, it's having me relive a few moments I had as a child watching Ed, Edd n Eddy. Yeah, the one things that really stick out to me about Ed, Edd n Eddy, not even in the show itself, but before the stories start is the theme song and also the end credits. For the longest time, the end credits to Ed, Edd n Eddy would always stick in the back of my mind. One memory that's always lived with me is when I was really little, me and my family took a trip to the Nickelodeon Hotel in Florida. That is around the time when the hotel had just recently opened, so everything was still fresh. It wasn't as run down as it was as the years went on and when it closed. I remember being in my room with my brother, and we had a TV in our room, and Ed, Edd n Eddy was on our TV because we did not watch any Nickelodeon that first night. For some reason, we decided to put Cartoon Network on, and I don't remember if there was a marathon of Ed, Edd n Eddy playing, but it may have just been episodes playing back to back. But we saw a few episodes, and we watched it until we went to sleep. And one of the final things I saw before we shut the TV off for the night was the end credits, because at that time they would play the end credits on TV, which oddly enough they don't really do that much anymore, but they've started doing it again on Cartoon Network. And the end credits theme song was the final thing I saw, and then I shut the TV off, and we were in a pitch black room, and we tried going to sleep, and just in the back of my mind, as I slept, I kept hearing the end credits to Ed, Edd n Eddy, and that final note, that weird sound that Double D makes. That's always stuck in my mind about Ed, Edd n Eddy. I don't know why. The show itself was very funny. It was a cute little show, and had a pretty interesting premise. I remember as I was getting a little older also, that's when I started discovering that there were episodes that didn't take place over the summer, like we actually saw them in school, and there were episodes that took place during the fall, and that to me was really interesting. I didn't see so many episodes about that. I think I saw more episodes from the first couple of seasons where it took place over the summer, because that's what the show is mainly known for. But I don't know, I just found those episodes really interesting. And as for the Christmas specials, they've always stuck with me, particularly Jingle Jingle Jangle. I think I've seen that one more than I've seen the first one. So yeah, let's talk about that now, because that's what this is all about. First off, Fa La 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 Ed. I hope that's enough laws. That's fine, it's only an 11-minute episode. The episode that it's paired up with, that's not a Christmas episode, so I'm not going to talk about it. I guess in a way it could be considered a Christmas in July episode, since it does take place over the summer. It doesn't feel so much like a Christmas special, I guess because of just how it is, but I guess you can compare it to, we're going to talk about this later on, but a Phineas and Ferb episode that takes place in the middle of summer, but is also a Christmas episode. Yeah, and when we get to that one, I'll discuss how that does also feel like a Christmas special because of how it looks. I guess in comparison to this episode, there's not a lot that makes this episode look or feel like a Christmas episode, honestly. It looks like a Christmas in July episode, and I think that fits better than just a traditional Christmas episode. Yeah, and honestly, there's not a lot that does stick out to me about this particular episode. It feels like a traditional Ed, Edd n Eddy cartoon, honestly. Nothing specifically for me is sticking to mind with this episode, apart from just seeing the Eds in very heavy jackets, clearly sweating. Double D has a moment where he's like, "Oh my God, we're taking money from Jimmy." I mean, it's fine. It's not one of my favorites, honestly. In comparison to Jingle Jingle Jangle, though, that one I like. I really like that one. And I don't know if it has anything to do with actually taking place around Christmas. I think it takes place on Christmas Eve, actually. Yeah, so, it's just really fascinating to see these characters in different times of the year when the show clearly promotes it being taking place over the summer. So just seeing the different imagery we have in the show, and even hearing the different music cues. I touched upon the scores that some episodes have whenever they do a Christmas episode. I think it was the Rugrats one. I liked hearing the Rugrats rendition of the Nutcracker. I like hearing the Ed, Edd n Eddy rendition of other Christmas songs, while they also try to sneak in the traditional Ed, Edd n Eddy theme song in there. That stuff I really like. But there's a lot of great imagery in this episode, if I'm using the word right. I like the way that the episode looks. It feels more like an Ed, Edd n Eddy Christmas special than the first episode does, honestly. And again, I think that has a lot to do with it actually taking place at Christmas. Seeing just how strange some of these neighborhood kids celebrate the holidays, I think that's what sticks out the most to me. And it's just kind of a deal breaker to Eddy. But then we also have kids that seem like they're just having a ordinary Christmas. Like the character Naz, we weren't even in her house for more than 2 minutes. And just because she got drenched, she kicked out Eddy. So we weren't able to see her holiday. Jimmy also had a pretty normal holiday. But Jimmy's a little weird. He's innocent, but also just very weird. I like the little village he also builds that Eddy eats. I love seeing little villages around Christmas time. It makes me want to have one. I don't have one. Maybe one day I'll get one. I like that stuff. What is it? That song Ralph sings? What is it? It's a different kind of holiday. I mean, that just kind of sticks into my mind. I've had that song in my brain, living somewhere in the back here for years, ever since I saw this episode first. I mean, as for the other Eds in that particular episode, Ed just wants to see Santa, who we actually get to see at the end of this episode, which I thought was really interesting. For some reason, and I don't know why, but I don't remember seeing Santa in this episode the first couple of times I saw this episode. I remember seeing the toy sack, but I don't remember seeing him flying away, and it wasn't until I saw this recently for this particular discussion where I was like, oh yeah, he's in this episode. Like, that's for some reason the one thing I don't remember about this episode. I remember everything else, I just don't remember him, and I don't know why. But that's what I think. That's what I think of the Ed, Edd n Eddy Christmas specials. I like Jingle Jingle Jangle more than Fa La 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 Ed. I'm going to stick with the argument that maybe it is because it's taking place at Christmas and not over the summer. There's a different kind of vibe you get when it actually takes place in December and then when it takes place at a different time of the year. You know, it's Christmas. We're talking about Christmas here. Interestingly enough, this episode started a chain of just holiday specials that don't connect to any particular season of the show. Like, there was just a brief moment in Ed, Edd n Eddy's history where they were just airing holiday specials, I think, in between seasons. So it's like, there's this one, and then I think there's a Valentine's Day episode, and there's the Halloween episode, which is also one of my favorites. I like the Halloween special. I actually thought the Halloween one came before Christmas, but I guess I was wrong. So that's all I gotta say on Ed, Edd n Eddy. We're done talking about that. We're gonna move straight on to another Cartoon Network Christmas special. Specifically one that I've seen a number of times, but I honestly have to admit I have not seen the show. Yeah, it's going to be another situation like Invader Zim, where I've seen the Christmas special, maybe like 2 other episodes. I don't really know this particular show that much, but I'm up for checking out any more episodes of it if I can get my hands on it. So come back tomorrow, you'll find out what I'm talking about, because I'm sure you're very confused. Thanks for watching The Wild Review. The Wild Reviewer, and you just saw me review a thing.